Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. Nigeria's People's Democratic Party appears to be finding it difficult to reconcile itself with its newfound position as an opposition party in the country. Since the party's 16-year rule in Nigeria effectively came to an end when it lost the March 28 presidential election, the party has been playing the blame game, basically shopping for who to anchor the loss on. Senior party members have been throwing open accusation and counter-accusation at one another as been responsible for the loss of the March 28 presidential election to the All Progressives Congress and the poor showing of the party, of course, in the election as a whole. Now, last Wednesday, after so much pressure from senior party members, Adamu Muazu resigned as national chairman of the party. Tony Aneni also resigned as the chairman of the party's Board of Trustees. He said he did so to allow President Goodluck Jonathan assume the position and lead the party. Now, we don't know if President Jonathan is willing to play that role, and he has not indicated his interest to do so. Some members of the party still think the two resignations do not go far enough and are calling for the resignation of the entire National Working Committee of the party. Of course, a call the NWC has outrightly rejected. One of those who are calling for a total overhaul of the party's leadership is Femi Fani-Kayode, the former spokesperson of President Jonathan campaign organization. Fani-Kayode particularly called for the overhauling of the party's information organ, headed by the party's spokesman Olisa Metu. But the National Working Committee of the party has now responded to Fani-Kayode's call. Here is its position as announced by the National Secretary of the party.
The National Working Committee expressed complete confidence of the party in the National Publicity Secretary, Chief Olisa Metu. We also commended him for his outstanding performance, exemplary commitment and sacrifices, particularly in the ways and manner with which he conducts the affairs of the Publicity Directorate in projecting the positive image of the party and the government it had the honor of forming. Meanwhile, the National Working Committee has set up a 7-man disciplinary committee headed by Chief Michael Abdul, with members comprising of Chief Mike Ogiadome, Senator Teslim Folani, Dr. Akilu Indabawa, Dr. Hassan Kafayas, Barrister Noye Nwago, while Barrister Tony Sisa Okeke serves as secretary. The committee will be inaugurated on Tuesday, May 26, 2015, at the National Secretariat in Wadata Plaza here. Finally, the National Working Committee called for calm and understanding of all members and other critical stakeholders, including the media, at this time of re-engineering process in our great party, while directing any member with genuine grievances to channel such through the appropriate organs. Thank you.
Well, joining me right now to discuss the problems confronting the People's Democratic Party is Chief Goddy Wazirike, who is the president of Akai Kenga. He's also a lawyer and a political analyst. Chief Goddy Wazirike, thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking you what you make of the blame game being played by the PDP at this very moment.
Well, it's a fallout of failure. You know, failure has a very unique quality. When people fail, the blame game starts. For those who have succeeded, all you hear is adulation, jubilation. But for those who have failed, it's recrimination. It is your fault, it is not your fault. So it is not unexpected that there must be a crisis within PDP. After all, they're playing a very new role. They have never tested defeat before. Now they don't even know how to handle the defeat. So the quagmire will continue. The rigmarole will continue until they understand something. When you lead a party to a defeat, you throw in the towel. Very simple and straightforward.
Now, but isn't this a clear indication that the PDP did not expect what happened on March the 28th, and so it wasn't prepared, it had no plan B, it didn't think about losing that election at all, and never contemplated a situation where it would find itself in the position it is finding itself now, that's being in the opposition?
No serious politician thinks of failure. Remember, you put in your time and money because you believe you win. I believe PDP believed it was going to win. So they didn't know that they were going to lose. Having lost it, they really don't know what to do. It will really take them some time to reorganize. And that reorganization time is now, not brickbat time.
Let me ask you what you make of the call by quite a number of the senior party members, asking the entire national working committee of the party, the entire national working committee now of the party to resign. Do you think that's the appropriate thing to do?
Well, let me put it differently. The National Executive Council of our PDP, in other words, all those who have been elected to man the affairs of PDP should go. Not just the National Working Committee. If you were elected to lead them to victory and you failed, then you throw in the towel. What are you there for? Give others a chance. They need new blood. And it is that new blood that can come in from outside and take a look at what has happened. As for all those who are in the National Working Committee, they shouldn't wait for somebody to prompt them. They should go home.
But will that solve the problem at all? I mean, wouldn't it make sense to allow these people to continue, at least for a while, so that they can probably, you know, sort of stabilize the ship before and begin the process of rebuilding the party?
Well, I think it's a case of moving the bull gently out of the china shop. These people led them to an unanticipated defeat, to an unprecedented defeat. What is it that's stabilizing? They're stabilizing failure. They're stabilizing recriminations. They're stabilizing backbiting. No, they should go home. They're not the only people who can run the affairs of the party. They should give others a chance. They have 4 years to plan, but the planning starts now. And the planning starts with new blood, definitely not with the old, tired blood that cannot even see beyond its nose.
Unfortunately, it appears the party has not actually started the planning now. But let me ask you what you make of the resignation of the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Chief Tony Aneni. He's actually been in politics for a very long time and, of course, has been in the PDP for quite a long time, right from the day that party was set up. He said he's resigning to allow President Jonathan take over. Some people have said, well, it's high time Chief Tony Aneni himself kissed goodbye to politics.
Well, there is time for everything. There is a time when you have all your energy. There is also a time when your energy will have deserted you. At 80 plus, definitely Chief Aneni has seen better side of life. All he has to do is to sit down, wait for them to come to him for consultations. But as for whether they are the party leaders, definitely it doesn't belong to the party leadership circle anymore. What are you going to say? Are you going to tell them about what happened in 1999 when we were talking of 2015? Definitely, Chief Aneni has seen better days and time for him to go. And thank God he has gone.
So would you say he has actually outlived his usefulness now as a politician?
No, he's useful. He's very useful, but as an advisor. He should sit by the fireside. He should sit in a rocking chair and wait for people to come to him for consultations. Not the Obasanjo type where he meddles in everything. No. An advisor listens and weighs and then tells them. So definitely Chief Tony Aneni has taken the right step, stepping down. Whether it is for Jonathan is another issue. But stepping down, yes, he has.
I have to ask you this very quick question. Do you think President Goodluck Jonathan is actually ready to step into the position of the party's Board of Trustees and provide the leadership that the party needs at this time?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think President Jonathan is a hatchet man. I think he's a gentleman. And gentlemen don't do very well in politics. So whether he can do well as chairman of Board of Trustees, that means he has a conscience. He can step in and say, stop. But being the gentleman he is, I don't see him scheming. He's not a schemer. So I think they need somebody who is ready to kill, literally speaking, in order to move the party forward. I don't mean physically, no. But remember also, the Board of Trustees is an advisory body. Definitely not the body that carries out the party decisions. The one we should be concentrating on is who is going to be the next party chairman.
Some people have said the biggest challenge confronting the PDP, and that is actually what is going to be its biggest problems going forward, is that it hasn't got the kind of politicians who are willing to stake their resources, you know, because stake their resources for the party. As we speak now, the party has gone into opposition, and the party no doubt would no longer have access to government money, especially at the center now. And that the party at the moment hasn't got the kind of politician who would stake all his resources for the party and ensure that, and carries the party along. And of course, as you've said, President Goodluck Jonathan obviously would find it difficult to provide that kind of leadership. So do you think that is correct, that that is the challenge confronting the PDP today?
Yeah, very correct. Because if we look at APC, they had the Tinubus and the Amechis who were ready to stake a lot of things. I don't think PDP has that kind of person who is ready to say, I'm putting down this. In other words, I'm going to gamble this that my party will win. No, PDP does not have it. So, but that reorganization period is what they are going to see. And I believe at the time, they will come to realize that this is a new game, this is a new reality. The era of Obasanjo dominating is gone. The era of Mr. President telling the chairman to resign is gone. That this is the time they have an all-powerful party chairman who will now have to direct. And if he doesn't have the money, he will become a puppet. So the puppet masters will be there. So PDP, this is a new ball game.
Do you think we're likely going forward, I mean in the coming days, weeks and months, that we're likely going to see more senior members of the PDP defect to the APC?
No, not immediately. I think the public opinion has actually stemmed the tide. And those who left earlier, somehow they're not finding it easy because the victorious party, which is APC, at the moment is busy sharing things and they have no room for the Johnny just come. And as far as I'm concerned, anybody coming now is only coming to chop. So what are they coming for? So if you are in PDP, stay there. Stabilize yourself and reorganize. And if you want to become a servant in APC, you can jump ship. And we say good luck to you.
Do you honestly think, before I let you go, do you honestly think that the PDP would provide the kind of viral opposition that Nigerians expect? The kind of opposition that will put the APC on its toes, just the same way the APC did when it was in the opposition?
Oh, yeah, definitely it will. It will, because there will be a level of desperation, especially for politicians from the north. You remember, most of them miscalculated what was going on. That's why virtually all the PDP top politicians from the north are partyless. You can't call them party men. You can't call them APC men. So either way, they lost. So they're going to grumble and turn that grumbling into complaints. And how to formalize it becomes another thing. But what they have going for them is the level of complaints that will follow the next 1 year or 2 years of Buhari's government. Why? Because the level of expectation on Buhari is simply too much. Most of the party men were making all kinds of promises without demand support. And before they know it, Nigerians are holding on to those things as the Buhari magic. Where the magic fails to materialize, it is the opposition that is expected to capitalize on it.
But of course, all of that would depend on if the PDP is eventually able to put its house in order, no doubt at all.
That's quite true, very true. Well, the united house, yes. A divided house certainly will fall.
Chief Godwin Wazirike, thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you very much for your thoughts.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, the discussion will continue, but this time on a different subject. Don't go away. Every day, every hour, every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories use them to make the right decisions. Welcome back. The All Progressives Congress held a two-day forum in the past week to unveil and discuss its policy direction. The party invited former British Prime Minister Tony Blair as guest speaker. Mr. Blair couldn't make it and sent a representative, Peter Mandelson, who served as minister in his cabinet. Here is what he told the gathering.
And you deserve to celebrate your success, but at the same time, I'm sure you all know that the hard work is only now just beginning, chiefly in respect of the economy, given the fall in oil prices and jobs that need to be created in this country, but also in respect of security too. And it's the hard work that I want to talk about today. Overcoming internal differences, reconnecting with the electorate and what's important to them, because that's exactly what you are now doing as you enter a new period of government here in your country. When I first went to work for the Labour Party as a young guy in the mid-1980s, we were close to disappearing altogether as a force in national politics. We were badly organised, bound by an inflexible ideology, and worst of all, we were profoundly out of touch with the people we hoped to represent. We had, in other words, to transform our party from what had become an electoral joke into one that people would actually want to vote for. And for this, we needed strategy, we needed policy, and we needed organisation and communications to bind it all together. Not endless communication, either in opposition, but particularly in government. Not endless communication to a point where people begin to wonder, if that's basically all you do. Now, it is not easy, but you have to set the ground rules absolutely clearly from the outset, the moment you get into government. If you do not treat your vested interests properly and objectively, then you will become captive to them, and everyone else will see that that is the case. And that's a straitjacket that you cannot afford to have if you want the country to prosper and if you want the government to succeed. Now, this is particularly true in the economic context. As I know from my experience as Trade Commissioner, there are vested and protectionist interests hardwired into any economy, and that come back to Nigeria and ask and all those critics you can't make sense. I told you so, I told you that no good would come of this. Your job is to keep on track and to help other people keep on track so that they don't lose heart before the delivery has a chance to work and to deliver results.
Everyone is waiting to see how the APC handles the delicate issue of choosing both the leadership of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Most analysts say how the party actually handles the issue will determine how far it can go as a united front. Already, the various candidates are campaigning for the leadership of both the Senate and House of Representatives. And for quite a while now, it had been suggested that the party may have zoned the position of both the Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives. While addressing journalists recently, national leader of the APC, Bola Tinubu, dismissed those suggestions, saying the party would place merit over zoning.
I'm a disciplined party man, and we will look at it critically. However, the nation is expecting us to take a decisive leadership decision, make one, meritoriously. Merit will not be compromised. You have to be competent, you have to possess the kind of character, attributes for the leadership. You have to be pan-Nigerian and be a very solid character to lead the National Assembly. And that is what we are talking about. It's not zoning to compromise quality of leadership and qualification and competency of an individual. We have resolved to follow our leadership and the criteria set by that leadership, including myself in a meeting, that no, we will not use zoning to determine and compromise the credibility, the qualification of individual. It must be all-encompassing, and that's the question. If you take zoning as discriminatory in some instances, you might compromise the quality of individual. Let everybody aspire, just like we aspire.
All right, joining me now to discuss more on the challenge facing the APC is Achike Chude, a political analyst. Achike, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking you, how difficult do you think it will be for the APC to be able to handle this issue of the election of the Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives without any friction at all?
There will definitely be friction. There will definitely be winners and losers. There will definitely be those who we feel hard done by the process. And so you're going to have some ruffled feathers. There is no doubt about that. You cannot avoid it. The reality is that this is the way politics is played, not just in Nigeria, but everywhere. It's about interests. It's about sometimes inter-party interests, intra-party interests, personal interests, and so on and so forth. So the same thing is going to play out. People, of course, that this horse trading has been going on for quite some time. Immediately they won the presidency. So you now began to see all kinds of movements among the political gladiators, and eventually, whether we like it or not, one way or the other, leaders are going to emerge at the National Assembly. But like I said, even those participants who are involved in this horse trading are aware that there can only be one winner. But I think it can be done in such a way that it is a party that ends up the winner. That is where I see it, yeah.
Okay, now let me ask you this. We heard Bola Tinubu earlier saying that zoning would not be the issue. Zoning will definitely not be an issue. That, as a matter of fact, the party would place merit over zoning. That for the party, this is not about zoning. It is about the quality of the candidate. And some people would say, well, it's difficult to see how the APC would, would manage that, especially when it's been all over the place that the position of the Senate President, for instance, has been zoned to either the Northeast or the North Central. And then we understand the position of the Speaker of the House of Representatives zoned to the Southwest, and we've also heard talk about the Northwest as well.
Well, the reality is that I think he has spoken like a politician. I think what some of them has been doing is just try to be politically correct. But the reality is that zoning is going to be the basis on which these leaderships of the National Assembly will be chosen. For instance, it is clear that some zones, regardless of the insistence on merit or the talk about merit by some people like Tinubu in this case, it is clear that some zones have been skimmed out, out of the process. Of course, the zone where the president is going to come from will not be in contention. The zone where the vice president is going to come from might not be in contention, depending on the offices. So ultimately, it is going to be about zoning. But if Tinubu were also going to talk about zoning and merit at the same time, maybe one could understand that anybody that's going to come from a particular zone must not just be somebody that is chosen on the basis of his geopolitical affiliation, but also chosen on the basis of his merit. So if you're taking anybody from the Northwest or Northeast and so on, you must also make sure that the person you're taking is able to do the job. that is where merit comes in. But zoning definitely is going to be a condition for the emergence of leaders of the National Assembly. That is definitely going to happen, because that is the way it is
now,
done
do
in
you
this
think
country.
we might see a situation like what happened the last time? I'm talking about what happened in the House of Representatives, where we all know that the decision or the choice of the People's Democratic Party at the time for the position of the Speaker of the House of Reps was, of course, the position was actually zoned. The PDP zoned that position to the Southwest. Eventually, the House of Reps members made their choice and chose Aminu Tambuwal as the Speaker. Do you think we could have a repeat of that situation where, for instance, the party would come out and say, look, we have decided to zone the position of the Senate President or maybe the position of the Speaker to a particular zone, and then the members of Parliament just decide on their own to go against their party?
Well, DEJI, I can tell you that they also have this sense of history that you have just talked about. They are aware that this happened in the last dispensation. They are aware of the possibility of it happening again this time around. Therefore, they will be motivated by the desire, by the need to ensure that the will of the party is followed at the National Assembly in terms of electing a new leadership for the National Assembly. And so, but they are also aware that what led to members of National Assembly abandoning the stance of their party, the PDP, has to be avoided this time around. So they have to ensure that everybody is carried along. They have to ensure that the interests of the contending forces are also taken care of. And then again, but again, I think there is a different motivation for this particular issue that has come out in terms of positions at the National Assembly, because the dynamics are different. The actors, political actors, are different. The stage is different. So you cannot exactly have the same kind of outcome. But like I said, they also have a sense of history, realizing that if this is not handled, they could have some renegades in their hands who will decide to do things their own way. Of course, like you said, a precedent has already been set. So I think it's about making sure that there is equity and that they are just, and also circumspect, and pragmatic in the choice of the leadership of the National Assembly.
All right, let me just ask you one last question before you go. Do you think we could have a situation where the APC might just play into the hands of the PDP, because we understand that some members of the PDP have decided that they are also going to contest for the position of the Speaker and the position of the Senate President?
Well, I think that the APC as a party is much more pragmatic, is much more astute. And I think that the hierarchy of the APC, I think they are much more politically aware and conscious than the PDP. Of course, in the build-up to the formation of the APC, and shortly after the APC was formed as a political party and all the controversies that dogged that particular registration, I mean, the formation of the party, whether they are going to be deregistered or not by the INEC and the rest, a lot of people predicted, quite wrongfully anyway, that APC was going to break up. It was just a matter of time, and APC would definitely implode. But what did we see? Instead of an implosion by the APC, we saw the implosion by the PDP. You understand? And so they have shown capacity, they have shown ability to do the necessary things, the relevant things that can only help in taking their party to the very next level. And like I said, they are much more politically savvy and aware than the PDP. So I do not foresee a situation where they will have consequences would arise that they will not be able to handle, and that that will see the PDP capitalizing on it. I do not see that happening. I think they will handle this the way they have handled the formation of the APC, and the fact that instead of breaking apart, they have continuously grown in terms of membership, and it is that growth that has led them to the victory that a lot of people believed they will never be able to achieve.
All right, Achikechiri, thank you very much for
Yeah,
coming
it's a
on the
pleasure.
program.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Stay with us, don't go away. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.